Hey, it's CJ. I'm calling from my apartment in Northwest Louisiana, Shreveport to be exact. And so I just came back from seeing a movie. A friend and I saw it. He didn't really care for some aspects of the movie too much, and I loved it actually. Uh, but we're different people. You know what I mean? We have different expectations from our movies, and this was. Uh, the movie was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Um, I recognize uh, this was kind of, Spider Man No Way Home was the big draw on that was going to be the variations of the different Spider Man from the different franchises. And so the draw on this one was going to be some cameos that are being pulled together from different franchises. Not some because Stephen Strange has only been played by one character in these live action movies, So he did encounter different variations of himself, but it was more like okay, the different parts of this movie, there was so much going on with it that they really couldn't spend a lot of time uh, exploring, backstory, which is something that Spider-Man: No Way Home actually did. I mean, there were some very tender and touching and sad moments in that movie as young Peter Parker even loses his aunt. Uh, and so there's, dealing with, death and a real some heavy scenes in that movie. This movie, Doctor Strange and the Multi, and it's hard to compare movies or to talk about a movie without comparing it. But so this movie uh, tended to be lighter. Of course, you had. I'm not overly fond of how they went about with the character of Wanda Massimo. I think with Wanda, they actually explored this dynamic with her in WandaVision, and I didn't necessarily think that they needed to revisit it, uh, but they did. And so, yeah, she's the big villain in this one primarily. So, the catalyst that sets everything in motion and everything, and so I guess there will be some spoilers here. Um, I like Wanda. I think Elizabeth Olsen plays the character with um, I don't with the true sincerity that doesn't happen in a lot of live action superhero movies. Some do it well. She's one of those that she does it extremely well. Um, now she's it's like the catharsis that she had in the WandaVision series maybe wasn't I don't know, it just seems to glaze over her. Do you know what I mean? Uh, so she spends the entire movie trying to get to the two children from WandaVision, who, by the way, are not real. They're characters that she pulled together out of the fantasy of her mind. And I guess the reasoning is that if you dream it, uh, then it must obligatorily be uh, part of an alternate universe. So that's the message that this movie leaves me with. If I go to sleep, that it must be and have a dream. It must be that I'm having a glimpse into a multiverse, and it's like uh, where's the imagination then? So is there no imagination? Is everything that you imagine, is it actually real in an alternate universe? I don't necessarily know that that's I no. I think that the strength and the power of humanity is our creativity. And our creativity stems from our uh, thought and creation. And to be able to put an idea together. So I don't necessarily like the Marvel cinematic universe version of this multiverse. I think that DC Comics handles the multiverse uh, basically. Yeah, I think they just handle it a lot better. And basically just they're like there are uh, other possibilities, uh, and we have other, let's just deal with it. You know what I mean? So there's that, but not every single possibility has to necessarily be a reality or an alternate universe, right? So not everything, but not in that case. If every bit of imagination doesn't have to be real, uh, then not every dream is a glimpse into an alternate reality. So, um, and that's not the way dreams really work anyway. So this is requiring you to really, really step out and suspend some things that because as people, we don't dream uh, anything that we don't see or come across in our real life. So you know what I mean? Uh, it's yeah. So everything that when you go to sleep or it's an amalgam of your real experiences. You know, uh, so there's this whole like school of thought of astral projection and walking along different realms and all that kind of good stuff. But but I don't know. I don't know. If that's a thing, then I don't necessarily think that's part of another universe. I think that's an extension of uh, this universe, which is the human soul uh, within the human body that's all here. So, whatever. I don't want to get all deeply philosophical. I'm just saying this Marvel Cinematic Universe, and these are wizards and sorcerers that know like the extent of knowledge of power that is known, and and the idea is that if they go to sleep and have a dream, then that's looking into another multiverse, every single possibility, you know, uh, and whatever. So, in other words, if you have an original thought, if you pull up something that's an original thought or original storyline or something like that, then instantly uh, another universe is born, created, uh, centered around that possibility. And then that's every person who ever has a different idea or a decision and split up, It's like, no, not every thought uh, becomes its own universe. That's just stupid. So anyway, this is what happens when you get creators trying to please every single person that's going to consume your product of creativity. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just have to just write the story and let it play. But when you have a franchise, it's I don't know. They're kind of slipping away. I will say that I preferred the Avenger movies and those characters, and some of those are kind of popping up, but we didn't get a reference to Loki or anything like that. There's a Thor movie coming out, so maybe we'll get something along that line. And I was having a little tired. They'll have some Guardian of the Galaxy characters in that Thor movie. Okay, so what my friend disliked most about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness uh, is the Council of the Illuminati. Uh, so and so one of the characters is like, the Illuminati will see you now. You're the Illuminati. And Stephen Strange is like, the Illuminati? Like he's never heard of the Illuminati. I mean, that's, it's just some, yeah. So anyway, and it's just a council of elders, of powerful people, uh, primarily human, uh, who kind of know about things like multiversal travel and influences, So, it's. I think what it is they there was so much going on that they really couldn't get into that deep emotional uh, connection between the characters, even the love interest or whatever. So, um, because this was not a love story. This was not a love story. These were basically work colleagues. Doctor Strange and his female in the movie. I'm drawing a blank on her name because that's how underwhelming. Christine. Okay, I think. Anyway, so what happens is, she's married, uh, and so they're essentially two work colleagues, or two people that used to work together. And as they encounter each other, it's like, yes, they did used to date, but it never was serious. And maybe it was, but it was never like, hey, we're going to get engaged to get married and all that kind of. It was never that. So this is like, their relationship is two people who are fond of each other. That's about it. So it's not really a love story, and it's not a story of love loss or anything like that. Everybody seems to be accepting and moving on and okay with how things are. She's married in her various multiverses, and he's Doctor Strange in his various multiverses, and um, yeah. Um, there was an episode of Family Guy, okay, and it was one of the uh, Brian and Stewie uh, episodes, and they were taking the title was The Road to Multiverse. So they were going through the different multiverses and the like insane things that would happen. So as these characters, Doctor Strange and uh, America is her name, so this would be like, okay, but she's not Captain America. The Captain America is not present, and so this is another character by the name of America, and it's very she's a great character, by the way. You guys will love her when you go see this movie. But so as they're going through the different multiverses, not knowing where they're going to land at this stage, they go through. At one point, he's paint, and at one point, you know what I mean. It's like it almost is like that episode, Brian and Stewie going through the multiverses. It's obligatory almost. It is just like it's a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, when the characters in that movie or that franchise or whatever activate uh, the probability guy drive, or is it the probability drive or possibility drive? I think it's a probability drive or normality or whatever. So they go through like possibility drive. So they go through like every variant that a possibility that could be in an instant. And so like, I mean, at one point they're furniture. The characters in that movie. It's so this scene uh, where Doctor Strange is first going through the multiverse is that. It's just like that. So formulary, yeah. A little corny, yeah. There was this movie had echoes of Spider-Man No Way Home, because Doctor Strange is meeting variations of himself. Of course, every variation is played by the same actor. We do get Mr. Fantastic, and we do get you know Agent Carter's uh, version of Captain America who carries a British shield versus an American star, you know. But and then we get what else? I don't want to spoil all the things. I mean, I've talked a lot about this, but they're not like. But it's like a brief chapter. This multiverse of madness, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, could very easily have been a mini series, a 6 or 8 episode series, um, because that's the way it unfolded. Much in the same way that the series that we get, the WandaVision, the Thor's, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, those things could easily have been movies rather than series. So it's because production's about the same and everything. So um, yeah. I'd recommend it if you're a fan of the movies and you want to keep up with the movies. I really like the Avenger movies. I want to get back to that, but apparently we're going to have to get through this phase 4. I'm not fond of the Eternals. What was happening? I don't. I can't say that I read every single comic that's been out there, but here we are. They're telling some other stories. The Eternals, if you haven't seen that movie, is the Celestials are put inside of the planets so that over some time, the life that's on those planets will feed them, and then they will come to fruition and destroy the world, and from that destruction, other worlds are born, and such is uh, uh, the mechanics of the universe. So that's great. But it's like, okay. But in the end, uh, the Eternals are robots, cybernetic robots or whatever, and they don't know it. And then everything in the universe is very robotic. Uh, you know, the, the, the great and powerful robot that's going to come back and pass judgment on mankind is a robot. So, you know, uh, and it's like, wow. Uh, it's a twist on things, but I don't know. The bright spot about that movie, and it was a good movie. It was a good movie. The bright spot about that movie is that, well, I went to go see Harry Styles, who just showed up in the very last bit of the movie, and it was like, okay, great. But anyway, back to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Okay. Um, Basically, this is just a movie that's there to connect to the other movies that are coming. Uh, so it really, the events that happen in this movie are not necessarily important at all, other than, I mean, there's no like, oh, the world's gonna end. There's no this or that. Although you could create a incursion, is what they're calling it. And when you go tampering around with the multiverses, you know, uh, timelines get altered, all that kind of good stuff. So, uh, Charlize Theron shows up in this movie, uh, and yeah, there's some interesting things. Bruce Campbell does his cameo. Uh, Cameo scenes. At first, I didn't recognize him until uh, he's in the very final scene, and it's like, this movie. I loved some of the eeriness. There were some jump scares. I guess they're playing around with a little bit of crossing into the light horror genre. Uh, it certainly wasn't the first one, uh, the first comic book to have done that. Um, and while it was executed well, it wasn't the best. I think, honestly, the best that I've ever seen, because I just didn't see it was coming, was the Aquaman when he first encountered the creatures from the trench, in that great Aquaman movie. The New Mutants, that was supposed to cross genres and bring in some horror. I did not get much of a horror vibe from it. Maybe if I were like 6 or 7, I mean, just great big giant bears in real life would probably terrify me, but on a TV screen, they're not very scary to me. Like, I don't know. Okay, so the movie was good. It's worth going to see. I liked it. If I were going to give it a scale of 1 to 5, uh, 1 being yeah, and 5 being yay, this would be kind of like a 3.5. Now you understand that it's the bar is set high for this, and uh, we got Jack Snyder's uh, Justice League. For me, it's like the height. The Marvel, the Avengers, Infinity War uh, was the greatest in the Marvel movies that I've seen. You know, uh, however, however, the Infinity War, and I just rewatched those. And in Endgame, I just watched Infinity War and Endgame the other night again. And Endgame, while it was great, it was kind of like going back and looking through your greatest hits collection of what went on during the first 3 phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's kind of like, yeah, man, it's like, I don't know. It's like it wasn't uh, the Infinity War vibe that was just, oh my god, this is huge and epic and everything, uh, and it's probably because it came out uh, so soon after and everything that it was just, it just wasn't. You kind of knew this was the second chapter, so it wasn't going to end on that cliffhanger that Infinity War hang, hanged upon. uh, so anyway, uh, go check out Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's very difficult to see these movies and then not compare them to other movies in the bar, because these are like the that I say how other movies are made in story and quality and everything. This movie did not touch me on the emotional level, but the action is there and the effects are there, and they're even the ones that are kind of cheesy, sort of like America's portal between the multiverses is a hole that is shaped like a star. And why not? Stars and stripes, right? America, whatever. So, you know, um, you know, some things are what they are. Got to put that patriotism into it. So, yeah, I maybe thought that the events of this movie, The Multiverse of Madness, I maybe thought it was going to be a carryover from the Spider-Man No Way Home, and I mean it wasn't. The No Way Home storyline had very little to do with this movie. There was like one brief reference in which something happened with the Spider-Man, but there was no mention beyond that. They made like the occasional, where does the web come from kind of thing. But that's about it. So, but it wasn't much of a memory as to what it was. So, um, sometimes I think these writers of the scripts and everything like that, sometimes I think they're gonna have to go back and like retcon, uh, and they need to. There's so many of the movies, especially in the MCU right now, that what's happening is they're starting to uh, the holes in some of their continuity is starting to peek through. You know what I mean? Where they're like sort of writing themselves into, and maybe, who knows, maybe it's all going to come together in some great genius part, the way that it did in uh, Infinity War and Endgame. You know, how everything was like cinched up and everything. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm seeing some frayed edges in some of the writing of uh, these movies. But yeah, I'm interested to see how they're going to close off their Phase 4, move into their Phase 5 and stuff like that, which has got to be coming soon because you've got the Shang-Chi, the Doctor Strange, the Spider-Man, the Eternals. I mean, there's a couple of other ones out there that have been Phase 4 kind of stuff, but then there's the series and things like that. So, um, you know, there's gonna have to be there's typically been, you know, the big epic movies that mark the closing of the chapters or the phases of the Marvel verse, and so I'm waiting for that. I'm hoping that that's going to answer some of these questions, or at least cinch up some of the frayed writing, the loose ends, and you know, uh, I don't know. I feel like Doctor Strange as a character always had a little bit of a rebellious streak. He's a doctor, a little bit of a cynic that didn't necessarily start out believing in magic, but he had an accident, and he was so bummed out over that accident that he was willing to try anything so that he could get back to being the doctor, and then he never really went back into medicine. Yeah, like it, like I guess doesn't even have like a private life outside of being Doctor Strange, the sorcerer, you know. So yeah. Um, I think people were expecting Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I think they were expecting some, certainly the friend I was seeing it with, he was expecting the crossover, the big epic crossover. But this movie was not it. This movie is not there. There are some cameos and everything. Um, I really hope this is the last time we're gonna see Wanda as an anti-hero slash villain. I mean, when you take a character like hers and the evolution that she's gone through, and the learning and falling in love and learning how to grieve, uh, the loss of Vision, the great love of her life, and her brother, and then uh, not being able to tell the difference between children who she created as fantasy, but through magic made them so real in her WandaVision. You know what I mean? It's like, these. Uh, I don't know. I really hope that she has come into a fruition, or to an acceptance of, but also in this movie, her actions uh, caused a lot of death. So how do you justify this? Wasn't WandaVision where she like uh, brainwashed the whole town. She actually caused the loss of human life, and it was depression and poor choice. It wasn't, yeah. So at some point, it's like, and she did it for an altruistic cause, but it was a fantastic cause. Like she made these children up. She didn't, So anyway, I don't know. I'm not sure what they're doing with that character. I've spoiled this movie a lot. I'm so sorry. I will when I post it to my YouTube. I will tell you there are some heavy spoilers and some opinions. Uh, 3.5. Go check it out. I love you guys. Have a good night. Bye.